All right, like I said, it's the fourth webinar in our PLM best practices. Today, specifically, we're going to be talking about document management. We had planned to include BOM management, but when we actually tried to get all of the content into an hour, we just couldn't do it. So we're going to punt that down the road and come back to that a little bit later in the summertime. But we have an awesome webinar today around document management. And joining us here, we have Eric Strada, VP of Services and Product Development at LeverX, an old-time OG, as well as Peter Demchenko, longtime friend and colleague when I was at SAP, and now that I'm LeverX, I'm happy to be with these two veteran PLM execution style, best in practices colleagues here, and I'm happy to have them here today. Next slide, please. All right, so the agenda today, we're going to have a document management overview. We'll talk a little bit about the challenges for document management in the product development lifecycle. Three key value points that we're going to do demonstrations around is the ability to search for documents, to bookmark these documents so that you can retrieve them, and then ultimately subscribe. So any changes that happens, you're always notified and you can email those links out to your colleagues in the extended enterprise. We'll end that with a Q&A session at the bottom. Next slide, please. All right, a little bit about LeverX. I think you need to go back one there. Oh, okay, I think something got removed. Go ahead. A little bit about LeverX. We're a gold partner. We basically there's various types of partners with SAP. Obviously, we have a sell, a partner edge PE sell. That means we're a value-added reseller in particular regions and countries. We co-innovate a lot with SAP, creating and programming and developing solutions with SAP. One of the solutions that we're going to be talking about IQ today is a build solution partner where we build on top of SAP, specifically for document management here. And then obviously, we're very well known for the last 20 years as a SI or service solution partner with an SAP. Next slide, please. A little bit about SAP and product lifecycle management. As you know today, there is a transformation going on within SAP of moving from on-premise to cloud. And really, the rebranding of enterprise product development happened in the last 2 months. And this is just a slide to show that SAP's product lifecycle strategy is basically kind of a hybrid scenario where you have obviously core ERP S/4HANA underneath it. Some customers may have ECC, but you can have different flavors of S/4HANA as your PLM foundation, where you manage documents, BOMs, and change within that ERP system. And then to enhance and further develop PLM solutions here, SAP PLM in the cloud, formerly known as ERP, is built on the business technology platform that allows new innovative type of solutions for product lifecycle management. And so it's basically a hybrid approach between ERP, S/4HANA, and PLM in the cloud built on BTP. Next slide, please. From a digital supply chain perspective, there's been a long-standing global initiative in the intelligent enterprise called Design to Operate, where essentially in 2018, SAP decided that they wanted to make sure that all the various silos from the digital supply chain, from design PLM to planning to manufacturing, logistics, delivering products to the warehouse and to other facilities, and then operation and service was one connected business process. And today's process we're going to be talking around in PLM is really in that design area at the top of the infographic there. So we're focusing on product lifecycle management and the designing of product within the design to operate end-to-end process. Next slide, please. So when we talk about SAP product lifecycle management in the design processes, SAP and LeverX basically buckets these processes and these solutions into 4 buckets. The 3 Ds and M is what we call, where you're defining your product, you're getting your voice of your customer and market insights with innovation management, obviously EPPM and project management, as well as requirements management fall into that bucket. Then the big part of the product lifecycle management phases is in the development bucket, where we're developing and creating specifications, obviously for discrete and process here, to create sustainable products across your extended enterprise. The delivery aspect is when we're handing over these designs and making the product information available downstream to the extended enterprise through visualizations, the handover of BOMs and intelligent routings. And then all along these three phases of the define, develop, and deliver, we're obviously managing this product data inside of ERP with change notifications, obviously document management, BOM management, and other types of processes within lifecycle, so that you're basically managing the entire process through workflows and such within that management phase of PLM. Next slide, please. So I always want to start a little bit with backtracking here around our PLM webinar storyline. This year, we decided to make an end-to-end demonstration and a webinar using a completely new data set, which is the LeverX eMoto that you're going to see here today. So we kicked this off in January of this year, and we started to develop all of this content within SAP PLM and PLM in the cloud and S/4HANA on-premise. And this is the storyline that's up to date, which we're now going to show you little vignettes of what we've done in the past to lead up to document management here. Next slide, please. So we started off in the define phase of PLM with a new product introduction. So next slide here. So we started with a campaign in innovation management that allows us to essentially gather input from both internal stakeholders as well as external stakeholders. They could be resellers of your products, they could be customers of your products. And we did that through innovation management, which is a cloud solution that allows you to capture the voice of the customer and ask them some questions. So if you go to the next slide, we created a quick questionnaire that we basically weighted at 10% that would influence basically the requirements for our new product, which is this electronic lightweight motorcycle called the LeverX eMoto. So we just basically attached this questionnaire to a campaign, which led into the requirements management, right? So now we started to frame out for our design engineers exactly the requirements for the chassis, for the forks, so for the motor drivetrain, and all the various systems that make up the motorcycle. Next slide, please. Then we went into the development phase, where we're actually going to now commit these requirements to hard designs in SolidWorks. So next slide here. So you're going to see we then went into SolidWorks and had our engineers started to develop these components as well as the assemblies inside of SolidWorks. We then managed that design with a middleware solution called SAP Engineering Control Center that you see on the left-hand side. That's basically a middleware that sits between your CAD seat and SAP and allows the engineer to manage the designs, to check in and check out designs, to make updates to BOMs, create materials. We had a whole nother webinar last 2 weeks ago on this topic. So again, very powerful tool. There's going to be another slide. Next slide, please. During this development phase, we wanted to reach back out to the customer base and make sure that what we were designing was what the expectation was in the marketplace. So we just basically started to create some renderings and reaching out to our resellers and our customers, asking them for their opinions in regards to some colorways and what forth. And the result was that there's going to be a color change on the lower front fork here via this customer design review. Next slide, please, where we basically set out a dynamic form in PDF format, but it could be also an HTML with the new SAP Dynamics form solution that was just released at the end of April, that essentially allows you to, send out a form. They basically populate which colorway they like better. In this case, the overwhelming response was essentially blue versus white. So that led us into the change. Next slide, please. So here we're just basically calling out saying, hey, you're going to see a change notification around from white to blue on this lower front fork part, which is material code 16810. Next slide, please. So now you're going to realize this from a visual perspective within a rendering, that I basically moved the data out of SAP into Blender to render this. You can choose any rendering package you like, but next slide, you're going to see in context the entire assembly. So here's the lower front fork on the front wheel assembly, where again, we're showing you the change in colorway. Next slide. So we're going to call it out, and then you're going to see as we dissolve to the next slide, please, that change. So we felt that this was a much better product in the sense from a colorway perspective. It was LeverX blue. We really like that. And so we're going with that change. Next slide, please. From there, we used LeverX IPS, which is a process solution as well as change management. That was our first webinar we did in the series. Here you can see the actual change where we're making the color change from blue to white. It's in the approval process from a workflow perspective. So Matt did a really good job in the first webinar talking about change management and the advantages of using LeverX IPS for your change processes. Next slide, you can going to see the workflow that was created. Well, actually, here's the actual change, the change information here. So the change number, lower front color torch, and then you're going to see where it is in the process here. One of the key advantages of LeverX IPS is the ability to create these workflows for change without having any programming skills. So essentially, you can take a standard template of a workflow and change it. And really the value of this, you can basically see this in a WYSIWYG format of how this ticket is going to go through the process of, being created, being assessed, going through a change board control mechanism, through design approval and so forth. Next slide, please. Here is just showing us where this lower front fork sits within the bill of materials from the BOM that was handing from Engineering Control Center directly into S/4HANA. So I basically exploded this BOM out just to show you where in context this lower front fork sits within the lower end assembly, because obviously we're going to be seeing this data in a variety of different ways in the storyline. Next slide, please. So here, what we then did is connected the visualization of the LeverX eMoto and SAP PLM visualization. I created a card template. Then on the right-hand side, I basically selected the object. You can see the master data that's connected to S/4HANA on the right-hand side. And then through the actions within the card, I was able to create a product package exchange publisher through that. So there I basically, next slide, jumped directly over there. I fed in the new material number 16882 into the collaboration PPX publisher, which allowed me to create a technical data package that contained all of the SolidWorks files and the JPEGs that were sitting inside of DMS into one data package and attach that to a collaboration. So next slide, you're going to see that process. So when I made this package, you can see it grabbed all of this information, this master data that was under that assembly, and then it's going to pass it all over on the right-hand side, those SolidWorks assemblies and all those bills of materials directly into that PPX package, which is an industry standard exchange format for digital supply chain. So once we actually published that, it ended up inside of SAP PLM collaboration in the extension of the PPX exchange, where you can see I've drilled down to show you that lower front fork. So if you're having a collaboration with outside design partners or internal that you just want to make sure that that's available to an end user or a stakeholder, they don't have to go in and find the data. Next slide here, you're just going to show us drilling down in that collaboration webinar, where we again see that lower front fork assembly when we're drilling down directly through that XML package, the PPX package in my collaborations, which was automatically generated through the publisher. From there, on the last webinar, we went through the actual change the physical CAD design, right? So it was around ECTR design management. Here you're inside of Engineering Control Center on the top level. You can see that in the lower left-hand corner where you see all the components and assembly with the visualization of that actual assembly on the lower right-hand. And you can basically navigate up and down that tree and then launch directly through version control and check-in and check-out capabilities directly into SolidWorks to make the change. Next slide, I believe, is us checking in the actual assembly there. So one of the automation processes within the ECTR is the creation of bills of materials, as well as tagging every component with the material ID. So when you pass that information into S/4HANA directly within this interface, it's basically binding the CAD data with the actual master data from a material master and a build perspective. And here she's just checking it in, and that was the change that was completed. So that's where we're at. So next slide, please. So at this point, I want to hand it over to Peter Demchenko. He's going to talk about SAP PLM document management. And I think you're really going to enjoy the rest of this webinar where we get really into document management. Thank you, Peter, for joining us, and take it away.
Thank you, Lars. I'm Pete Demchenko, Director of Sales and Strategic Accounts for SAP. I've been with for LeverX. Been with LeverX for about 10 years. Before that, 17 years at SAP as a PLM practice manager and a platinum consultant in the PLM area. And I go back, next slide, please, with Eric. Eric and I go back to the original PLM days of SAP when Dr. Victor Lazinski, who was at SAP at the time, came over from Germany to start up the PLM group. And that's how far back Eric and I go. And here we go. So document management in SAP. A lot of customers, when you buy SAP, you don't realize that it includes a complete, secure, robust, integrated document management solution. Customers don't know that. They go out and buy Documentum or some third-party solution. They buy extra licenses. They have to maybe do developments for integrations to store documents, not knowing that they already have a document management system in SAP. And I've run across that through my years many, many times, and it was a big surprise. So if you're interested in reading more about it, Eric here wrote the book, and he's going to be doing the presentations and the demos next. When Lars went through the presentation and he showed you all the different phases of product development, you can imagine there's a ton of documents that get created all along the way. Many, many different formats, many different types of documents. They're all over the place. So let's lift the hood under SAP and talk about SAP PLM. We know that there's a lot of documents, but these are the key objects in the PLM side that SAP uses. You're all familiar with Material Master. Everything in SAP is built around the Material Master. And when you have a lot of Material Masters, you have bills of material. So the structures of the products, be it a discrete product or a process product, you have a bill of material. On the document side, the equivalent object is called a document information record. That's the SAP object that handles the original files that get attached to it. It has the details about the document. It has the life cycle of the document, the different versions. All of this kind of information is contained to the document information record. And then those documents can be linked to the different objects here in SAP, linked to a material master, linked to a BOM, linked to a specification, to a routing when you're actually going to build a product on the assembly floor. It's linked to a change record. So Lars talked about changes, how you went through a new change introduction or a complete product introduction. All of this is handled within SAP. Next slide, please. So what's a document in SAP? Well, pretty much everything, okay? MS Office documents, Word, Excel, PowerPoints, contracts, forms. On the engineering side, CAD models, all the different CAD integrations that are available, assemblies, assembly drawings, part drawings, video files, audio files, CAE files, specifications, neutral files, which are very important, lightweights, 3D lightweights, VDS files, PDF files, 2D images, Photoshop information, SVG information, and C files. You name it, we can store it in document management. Next slide, please. What are some of the challenges? Well, the most The biggest challenge I've heard through all my years is always one thing: searching for and finding what I need. It's very difficult because customers, if information could be anywhere, it could be on a network drive, it could be on somebody's PC, it could be on some drive that's not connected to the network. Very difficult to find information. And what happens is a lot of times engineers and designers just give up and they say, all right, I'm just going to recreate it. It's faster. So we recreate something that already exists. And then when you're searching through the database, you find out, holy smoke, I got 5 of the same things. How many customers have run into that? A lot. Another key area is security. And security works both ways. Being able to access documents that you need to see that other people shouldn't see, or being blocked from accessing documents that you need to see. This happens quite a bit if you don't have a good security model. Also, version control. Say you're looking for a part that's got to be sent down to the assembly floor. You look, there's like 10 different versions. Well, okay, I'm going to send this version. I think this is it. And you send it down to the shop floor. They make 10,000 parts of something that they don't need. That happens quite a bit as well. And the other thing is expensive licenses, like the example of maybe buying a third-party document management system where you have to buy additional licenses just to see something that you should be able to see, or maybe having to have CAD licenses to see engineering information that maybe you don't need a CAD file, you just need a lightweight file to see it. Next slide, please. What are some of the benefits? The 3 things that Lars mentioned. Number 1, faster searching, being able to find what you're looking for very quickly, be able to identify it and see it. And then if it's something that you're going to need, maybe not today, but maybe a week or 2 down the road, and I wish I had all this when I was a project manager, I would bookmark the documents and folders. Then I knew, okay, I don't need it today, but 2 weeks when I get to this phase, I know I'm going to need them. I got them. I don't have to search for them again. And then finally, subscription. Subscription is really neat because you could subscribe to a document. Maybe it's not on your project, but it's something you want to be aware of and you want to know when there's changes, because maybe when they add that 3rd hole, I can use it on my project. Next slide, Eric. Okay, Eric's going to go through searching. So let me give you an idea what the benefits of searching are through IQ DMS. 1, you can quickly search and locate the documents and find the information that you need. IQ DMS also leverages SAP's extensive classification system to auto-generate a tree to help you with your searches intelligently. It's Fiori-based, so you just get a URL link, nothing to load on any of your devices, and you can even access it from your mobile phone sitting on the beach when you shouldn't be doing work. Secure document control. IQ DMS respects all the SAP security that's set up for the documents. So people that should see the documents will, and those that shouldn't won't. And then finally, when you look at IQ DMS, you're going to see all the information on very nice, easy to use screens. And Eric's going to demo that for you. So next slide. And you're up, Eric.
As mentioned, Eric Steid here, lead up delivery on projects. As Pete and Lars mentioned, been in the SAP PLM world for about 24 years or so as of today. What I am going to demonstrate or focus our demonstration on today is our IQ DMS tool, which sits on top of document management. So think about it as a user-friendly interface that is using the core capabilities within SAP. So it's all sitting on top of the standard SAP document management. And think of it as, a Fiori interface into the document management, which will make things simpler. I'm going to focus on demonstrating kind of the basic user interface first, and then we'll go into the bookmarking and subscribing and some of the other features as we go. Left-hand panel here, I have some of my recently accessed documents, and as you can see over here, there's a number of ways that I can get to things that I've worked with. I can get to my bookmarks, my home folder, recently created, my subscriptions, my public folder and private folder. I'll go through some of these things as we go through the demo. Right now we have this on the recently accessed. The right-hand panel is where I can search for my documents. So you can see I can search by type, description, status. I can do a full text search. I can search by the material number. So the first thing I want to do in this case is I'm searching for a top assembly. So this is one of the, as part of the eMoto example, I want to find the top assembly for that and take a look at some of the documents. First thing I can do is I can select the document types. Now, the nice thing about IQ DMS, if you're using DMS today, you can restrict the document types here so you don't see a big list of document types. You see a much smaller list. So I can click on, I want to search in my SolidWorks assemblies. Right away, when I click on that, you're going to see that what's going to show up are my characteristic values. These are the business attributes that are related to that document type. So I could go down here and search based on the project name, the category, the customer, the commodity code, etc. These are attributes that you define for the document as part of the attributes that you want to search for. But you see, by selecting the document type, the attributes that are relevant to that document type automatically appear. Additionally, I can search just on the description. So I want to go here and search for that eMoto document. I can just drop in the description. As mentioned, I could search based on other things like the status of that document, find me only the approved ones, the released ones, the ones that are checked out, checked in, etc. So easy way to find that. I could search based on who is the responsible user for that document, or I could do a full text search, which would mean I'm searching with inside that document. Or I could search for the material that that document is related to, because a lot of times when you're doing the document management, you're relating those documents back to the material master so that it's simple to locate those documents. So I'm going to search on the eMoto here, and you can see I can search for all versions, current release version, or latest version. So I can define how that's going to show up. I do my search here on the eMoto, and you can see right away that I get the document that I'm interested in. Now, one thing I can do, which is very nice with IQ DMS, is I could click on the panel here. It'll show me some basic information about that document, like what lab office does it belong to, what change number was it changed with, who created it, who changed it last, auth group invalid from. So you can have a bit of basic information about that document without diving into the actual details of the document. I can also just click here and say I would like to see the originals associated with that document record. So you can see here I have my SolidWorks assembly, I have my VDS file, which would be my 3D lightweight file, and I have my JPEG. Clicking on any of these, like if I click on this, it'll download the file. You can see here in a second, it will open. Give me just 1 second. And you can see here is the file, that 3D lightweight that's attached to that eMoto motorcycle. Give it a second. It's just building the frame. So there's the actual motorcycle. So nice thing here is based on the 3D lightweight that was generated as part of the process when the CAD data was checked in. I don't need a CAD license to get to the 3D data. I can get to the 3D data and the lightweight models directly from the system without having to consume any of the CAD licenses. And you can see this is the tree built up of that actual assembly. Okay. Going into the document, I could then look at the details. So maybe, you know, as a user, I might just want to view the originals, but I can go into the details here. And this will take me to the, let's call it the larger document information record for this. So I can see some basic data, like this is the LeverX eMoto. It's in a checked in state. Here's the responsible user and some other basic information. I can also see here all the originals. These are the files that are attached to this document information record. So I can again see these are my SolidWorks, my assembly, my 3D lightweight models, and my preview JPEG. My additional attributes are now how I've classified this document. So these are my business attributes that I've defined for that document type. So I can see here's the project it belongs to. Its top assembly is as the commodity code top assembly. And we're going to look at these because these are what help build up what we'll call our attribute navigation tree in a minute. We have our descriptions. We have our object links. These are our object links where the document is related to. So one of the strong points of SAP DMS is that we can relate our documents directly to the objects in the system. So in this case, we relate that document to the material master. The other thing is the status log. This is the process that this document has gone through. So we have clear visibility of how it's been processed, when it was checked in, checked out, etc. So we have a full trail of that information. Okay. As Lars pointed out, now this document record, typically with document management, we have a lot of approval processes or workflow processes. So here we have integrated into IQ DMS our IPS, which is again the integrated process solution, which is the workflow solution. So let's say this is related to these IPS tickets. And so if I look at this ticket, this is our new product development and introduction. This document is related to that ticket. And what we can think about in that is that this is our overall workflow process for releasing this document. So if you look at this ticket, it's like initiate, marketing, control board review, in-work approval. This is our basic, I'm not going to go deep into this, but this is our ticket, and think about it as your envelope. You're sending that document. You can see these objects, including that document through the process. And over here on the workflow side, this is the actual process it's going through. So just kind of a quick overview. You can see the phases and the different tasks it's going through. And right now it's sitting at the approved state for this document. And here we can see that Matt is the one that has the approved task open. Just kind of a quick view on the IPS. Now, at the top here, we have some other actions we can take with the document that we'll go through: the bookmarking, the subscription. We have some actions like we could show all versions of this document. We could get a link that's just a pure URL link to the document if I want to share it with someone. I can display it in my traditional, let's call it PLM SAP user interface. I could go to the object navigator. I could add it to another IPS ticket, or I could send the link via an email. Okay. And I can also update my long text. There's not any long text with this, but I could update that. Now, so that's kind of the doc record. Now, another nice feature, I'm going to just click back on this, is on the left side, if we're looking for documents and searching, certainly I want to know about my recently accessed. So I'm there right now. These are documents that I've recently accessed. So it gives me a list of things I don't need to go searching for. I could go for my recently created, okay, which is nice. And then one of the other nice things is attribute navigation. So remember, we talked about the business attributes on the document. Well, we can use this attribute navigation, and the system will automatically build up a, let's call it tree search, based on the classification attributes of the document. So if I say, you know what, I want to go through my SolidWorks assemblies, and I want to find all my top assemblies, this will automatically build the tree for these based on the attribute. So if we look at this specific document now, so I was at Top Assembly's documents, this was completely dynamically built based on the commodity codes. So kind of a nice feature. So instead of, you can certainly search on these attributes, but some people do like just navigating through a tree structure, okay? And an additional way of navigating here, if you're using ECTR, you can also navigate, and let's see if this is by your folders. So in Engineering Control Center, all the documents are stored in what we call a doc structure. So you can also use this interface to navigate those document structures or folders. So in one case, I have over here, this is my public root folder. I have my eMoto here, and I want to go to the Top Assembly. And this document is in my Top Assembly folder. And then if I click on that, I'm actually going to get everything within that Top Assembly. So these are all the documents that are part of that assembly. And then I can navigate to any of those different things. So if I want to see the battery backplate, I can directly get to that, or the battery cover. And these are all the documents related to that Top Assembly. So it's a good way of exposing the documents that are managed, let's say through the CAD side in the Engineering Control Center, also to the end user here. Okay, so let's go back to the slides for a minute, and let me go back into slideshow. So when we talked about, let's give it a second. When we talked about search, we went through this kind of basic searching mechanism where we search for the eMoto assembly, and we search for all versions. And as mentioned, we could search for the different current released or latest released versions. It gave us the eMoto document here, which was the assembly. And then we went through what the document, let's call it record, looks like in the system, and all the different information, including the originals, the additional attributes, description, links, status log, and tickets. Okay. So Pete, I hand back over to you to talk for a minute or two on bookmarks.
Thank you, Eric. Yep, searching, as you can see, is very, very important. And like I said, it's the #1 thing that customers complain about, is being able to find what they're looking for. And these are the kind of things, because everybody needs to access documents, but not everybody has the time to become a document management expert. So that's what IQ DMS is all about, helping you find. Also helping you take advantage of what you find, like bookmarking. I wish I had this when I was a project manager. Whoop, whoop. Bookmarks they're relevant, no problem. And it's something that you'll find it on a search, and then you say, well, I don't need it today, but I might need it a week or two from now because I'm not on that phase of the project yet. Bookmark it, it's available, and you can get to it later. It boosts your productivity because people don't have to go research for something. You just bookmark it and it's there. It's very easy to bookmark a document once you find it, and remove the bookmark when you don't need it anymore. And it's very intuitive. Like I said, not everybody can be a document management expert. So IQ DMS was made to quickly and simply learn it. You can learn it in 10 minutes. You can start using it. User acceptance is very important, because you roll out a solution, you all know this, and the users revolt. I hate it. I don't like it. You know, IQ DMS is the opposite. It's simple. People like it. Wow, this is easy. And then they use it. If it's easy, they're going to use it. And it helps you with filtering. No longer, like Eric showed, you have to filter things manually. The system can filter them for you and present you the information that you need. Next slide.
Okay.
And back to you, Eric.
Okay, so we'll do a quick demonstration on bookmarking. So if we want to go back, and as Pete mentions, it's all about finding the information that you need, or keeping track, because there's like the documents, there's documents everywhere. So we want to keep track of the ones that are important to us. So if I go back to this LeverX eMoto here, this is the document. I want to keep track of this. Very simple. I go over to the bookmark. You can see it's bookmarked. Now, we're showing this because this is not a standard feature that's available, let's say in SAP DMS as a let's call it as a favorite. This is a feature that's available in IQ DMS to keep track of things. So if I bookmarked it, now I can go over to my bookmarks and you'll see it's directly in here. So it's just, as mentioned, nice way of keeping track of the things that are important to me. We went into the document, we highlighted and we bookmarked it, and now it was available over in our bookmark section. Let's talk about subscriptions, Pete.
Okay, I'm back.
Yep.
Okay, bookmarking, like Eric said, is very important because as you saw from Lars's presentation, there's a ton of documents all over the place. We don't even know where they are half the time. We have to link them to SAP objects because you want to, from the object link, be able to find the document that's related to what you're looking for. So the bookmarks are very helpful. Subscriptions are the same thing. Again, I wish I had this when I was a project manager or a consultant doing projects, but you're able to subscribe to a document and find out all the changes, the statuses, the versions, anything that happens to that document, you're going to be informed of. Maybe it's not part of your projects, you're not going to bookmark it, but you want to stay on top of it and see what's going on because maybe it's something that you're going to consider using on your project or product. Never miss an update. Anytime there's a change, you get notified by email. You can subscribe and unsubscribe very easily, just like a bookmark. And it basically, you can also send it, like Eric said, via action, send via email. You can send these around, and it makes your user much more productive because you're subscribing, you're aware of what's going on other projects. Okay, Eric.
Okay, let's go back to the system. And these are simple features. So now if I would like to subscribe to this document, I can subscribe to all changes, status changes, or version changes. So, and remember when we're subscribing, that means when these changes occur, we're going to get an email notification. So if I wanted to know anytime a document changed, I could subscribe to all the changes. So anyone updates the description, a characteristic, an object link, I'll get notified. If the status on the document changes, then I'll get notified. So something where if the document was released, or maybe it was put into like a periodic review where it needed to be reviewed again, I could get notified. And version changes. So anytime someone, let's say, versions up the document, I would want to get notified. Okay, so these are the different kind of triggers where you can get notified. So if I said I want to get notified of all changes, it'll come over here. And if I look at my subscriptions, you can see it's over in my subscriptions. And now anytime it's notified, anytime it's going to be all changes, I'll get notified. Now, if I want to get, eventually I want to get rid of this subscription, I can just click on that and you see it goes away. So it's a great way, again, of keeping track of documents that are of interest to you that are being changed or something that you need to keep track of. So again, these are just extra features to make your life easier so that you don't have to be constantly on the lookout. Did something change and miss a change, etc. Okay. So let's go back to the subscription here. Let's go back to the slideshow. And so what we did with the subscribe was, we went in and subscribed to all changes. This gave us the subscription. And when the changes occur, we'll get the email. And here we go. Okay. Now back to I believe Lars. So that
Yeah,
ends
thank
the
you very much,
demonstration
Eric
portion.
and Peter.
Yep.
Yep. So thank you very much. Awesome demonstrations and introduction to LeverX IQ DMS. I think the 3 takeaways, as we've kind of said before, which is really easily being able to find by searching, an easy search mechanism without having to create some crazy filter mechanisms within SAP, right? The ability to bookmark those searches to documents that you want to instantly access, and then always subscribing so that you know what's happening within the enterprise whenever these documents are changing through the life cycle of your product development process. With that, we'd like to throw up a couple of quick questions to you guys in regards to, if you go back, just hold for a second there, Eric, please. Obvious, we talked a little bit about IPS and workflow and business process automation. For change tickets and change management. It's the first webinar we did and the customers that are using that. The next solution that we have, which is really an awesome tool, not that these are all awesome tools, but DataLark, for anybody that's doing data migration or wants to create master data in a very easy no-code way, maybe moving data from one system to the other. DataLark is there. The link to the website is awesome. It has a video and all kinds of information there. BMax is really about extending your master data with rules engines and other things. Again, a simple and fast way to make sure that your master data is clean and consistent, and that you're getting all the, correct characteristics for all the various fields in your material master field in a meaningful way. And last but not least is the IQ series. This is the lightweight user interface for IQ DMS that we just showed today. Again, if you've answered that poll, we'll be reaching out to you for more possibilities of doing a demonstration in the future. On behalf of myself, Lars Olson, as well as Eric and Peter, we thank you for your time. As I said earlier, our next series of webinars is going to be around process PLM through the middle time of summer. And then we're going to come back on the discrete PLM side a little bit later this year at the end of summer, and talk about some of the new capabilities in the cloud, like product structures, configuration management, handover, intelligent handover and routings, visualization. And then we're going to definitely talk about that BOM topic because product structure, configuration management, and intelligent handover all play into that BOM kind of document management scenarios. So again, we thank you for your time. We look forward to talking to you in the future. Please sign up for the LeverEdge event later this year in October, where we're going to have everybody down to Miami. It's on our website. And thank you for your time. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time around.